Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us online for church today. Hey, I just want to put this in front of you on August 30th. It's the fifth Sunday of the month, and here at Crossroads Church, that's when we do Family Day, and so all of our kids are going to be in service with us. We'll be doing baptisms. We've got a slew of baby dedications that we're going to be doing, and it's going to be just a great day of celebration. And so if you would like to be baptized, or if you have a child that needs to be dedicated, that you want to be dedicated, if you would contact the church office and let us know and plan on being in service on August the 30th, that would help us out, and this is going to be a fantastic day. So hey, I know that we've had some spikes in COVID, and so I know that many of you that are joining us at home to stay safe. Thank you for being health-minded and for staying safe. We love you. We're praying for you. We anxiously await the day that we're all back together. Today we're going to be finishing Matthew chapter 10, and so we're excited about what God is going to be doing through today's teaching. God bless you and enjoy. We love that our kids worship with us. It's I don't know if you're one of those who closes your eyes during worship. I mean, you do you, right? But once in a while, you need to watch one of these kids as they worship Jesus. Beautiful thing. So, all right, kids, enjoy kids' church service. Hey, I want to thank you guys for coming to church today. Those of you that are joining us online, I want to say welcome and thank you as well. Because of the social distancing, we're still not passing offering buckets. We do have the giving receptacles in the back. So if you brought your tithe and offering with you, you can drop that in. There's one beside each of the doors as you leave today. If you're watching online, you can slide over to crossroadspv.church, click the Give Now button. You guys can do that too from your phones if you want to give online. We also have the giving kiosk in the back. I want to thank you for supporting the church and continuing your support for the ministry of the church, and know that we're able to utilize those funds for ministry purposes to help people in need. And so I just want to thank you for your continued support. Today we're going to finish chapter 10 of Matthew, and I know this sounds ambitious based on the fact that we've been in Matthew for, a long time, well over a year, and we're just now in chapter 10. There's 28 chapters, so we're not even halfway through. But next month, we will endeavor to cover all of chapter 11 in 1 month. And so we're going to be hitting large sections, so you're not going to want to miss any of those weeks. If you have plans or vacation, we understand. Make sure you catch online because we're covering a whole chapter in a month's time. So today we're going to be in Matthew chapter 10. We're going to start reading in verse 34. We're going to read through the rest of the chapter, which is verse 42. So again, this is Jesus speaking to his apostles. This is what he says, beginning in verse 34. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet as a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever welcomes a righteous person as a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And if anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, truly I tell you, that person will certainly not lose their reward. Now, this is a passage of scripture that many of us just kind of skip over because we have such a hard time attributing this passage of scripture to the words of Jesus. That Jesus would actually say these things, it doesn't seem cohesive to the picture that most of us have of Jesus in our minds. That's because the picture that most of us have of Jesus in our minds is the smiling, meek, well-groomed version of Jesus who is carrying a pure white lamb on his shoulders, who's walking through a meadow of beautiful wildflowers and laughing while kids dance around him. The picture of Jesus that most of us have in our minds is the Jesus that will return riding a unicorn sliding down some kind of a rainbow. It's a little 7-pound, 8-ounce tiny infant Jesus laying there in his ghost manger looking at his baby Einstein developmental videos, learning about shapes and colors. But it's not the picture of Jesus that the Bible paints. I want us to remember that Jesus himself is speaking. This is his description of himself. The picture of Jesus that the Bible paints is one of a warrior king. Revelation paints him as riding a white horse. That's imagery of a conquering hero. And it doesn't say that he's carrying a sword. I mean, that would be cool imagery. I mean, movies are made about Excalibur. What about the kind of sword that Jesus would carry? Legendary. Revelation actually says that the sword comes out of his mouth. I mean, the Wolverine has claws that come out of his hands. Jesus just uses the sword in his mouth. The picture of Jesus that's painted is that of warrior, that of conqueror. And this is hard for us to imagine being conquered by Jesus because this is not in any way the terminology that we use or the imagery that we use. In fact, the imagery that we use is surrender. But let's talk about that imagery. When do you surrender? To whom do you surrender? If before he left for kids' church, I would have brought my 5-year-old son up here and asked him to say, all right, give me all your money. I mean, you would have because he's cute. I get that, right? I mean, it happens. I don't know. The guy has more money than I do. I don't know where it comes from. He just walks around and asks people for money and they give it to him. But like if I made him do something threatening to you, he's a 5-year-old little boy. There's nothing threatening. I don't surrender to a 5-year-old little boy. I don't surrender to 7-pound, 8-ounce tiny infant Jesus. I don't surrender to the guy walking through the meadow laughing with children carrying a white lamb around his shoulders while doves lighten his hair. That's not what surrender is. You surrender when you know that if you don't, you'll be conquered. This is the image that Jesus paints of himself. And actually, all of Scripture backs this image up. So you see things in the rest of Scripture that say things like, he is the name above all names. That at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow. That's both an invitation and a warning. At some point, you will bow before Jesus. We can humble ourselves and submit to his authority, to the active rule and reign of Jesus. We can do that now through our own volition, accepting him as Christ, as King, as Savior. Or we can resist that and bow in his presence as he's casting us out into eternal darkness.
but we will bow in his presence. We will submit to him, whether it be now of our own choosing or whether it be at the end of our life when everything is made clear and we wish we would have sooner. We will submit. Jesus says, I have come not to bring peace, but a sword. He talks about family upheaval where kids are turned against their parents and parents are turned against their kids, and this is troubling for us. But he begins all of it by saying, I've not come to bring peace. I want us to look at that in particular. We're actually going to hone in on verses 38 and 9 for the rest of service. But before we can do that, I really want us to have an understanding of what Jesus is talking about here. He says, I have not come to bring peace. Okay, but he's the Prince of Peace. He is the issuer of peace. How can the Prince of Peace not come to bring peace? What does this look like? What does this mean? Because this one phrase seems to contradict the rest of Scripture, but it does not. The word that Jesus uses for peace in the Greek is, the literal translation of it is a state of untroubled, undisturbed well-being and prosperity. A state of untroubled, undisturbed well-being and prosperity. And Jesus says, I did not come to bring you this. In this one half sentence from Jesus, the doctrines from the prosperity gospel, the kingdom now philosophies, from the word faith doctrine of name it and claim it, can all be discarded as extra biblical. See, extra biblical is where you take a doctrine where you reference the Bible, but then you build your own doctrine that's your own way of thinking that's not the rest of Bible, and you link it to a Bible verse that's usually taken out of context so that you can say that it's from the Bible. You can make people believe that it's from the Bible. You can even preach it and teach it from churches, but it's not actually the Bible. And these philosophies out there that are being taught in the American churches and in churches all across the world, they reference some Bible scriptures to make you feel like it's biblical, but it is not biblical. Right here in this half a sentence is all Jesus took to discredit all of it. I did not come to bring you an untroubled, undisturbed state of well-being and prosperity. That's not why I came. So the people that are teaching and preaching that you can have this now, these are people that are not preaching and teaching the same way that Jesus himself taught and preached. Jesus literally says he has not come to bring us a state of untroubled, undisturbed well-being and prosperity. At least not on this earth. The word that is used here for bring, when he says, I did not come to bring you this peace, the word that is used for bring, it always, in every usage in the New Testament, bears the connotation of being whimsical and spontaneity. It's just spontaneous. It's not planned out. It's just spontaneous. You see, when we take this passage and we compare it with the rest of Scripture, what we see is that Christians are actually promised, even by Jesus, a state of untroubled, undisturbed state of well-being and prosperity, and it's called heaven. It's eternity with him. He does promises, but what he's saying is that this is not spontaneous, this is not random, this is processed, this is planned out, there is process to the preparation. Jesus says, I'm going to prepare a place for you. If it was spontaneous, he would say, everything that I have done, you have full access, you can just do whatever, it's just heaven now and just whatever, and I don't ever need to come back because you're good. If we had full access to kingdom now, why is our king returning? Why does he need to come back if we have heaven now? I can tell you, life can be good, right? Man, we've got things for which we worship our Savior. We have blessing upon blessing. Life can be good. Heaven's going to be better. But I can tell you this too. Life can outright stink. Man, we've all gone through times of life where we're just like, Jesus, where are you through this? It's dark. It's troubling. I don't understand why you're asking me to do the things you're asking me to do. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes we don't even understand what God wants from us. Life can be hard. But here's what I can tell you. Heaven will be worth it. When life is good, heaven will be better. When life is hard, heaven will be worth it. And this is what Jesus is pointing us toward. He's saying, I didn't come to bring this now. This is not spontaneous. This is not random. All of the promises that you read about in Scripture, those are for a time. And that time is future. Now, when you're living on the earth and you're surrendered to Christ the King, you're going to see some things that look a little bit different. I want us to remember the context of how this was being spoken. You see, Jesus had been ministering. He had been traveling around the region, and the Bible tells us that every town, every village had been visited. He was proclaiming the good news of his kingdom. He was healing people. He was setting people free. He was delivering them. He was ministering everywhere that he went. There was miracles that were taking place. And then he calls his disciples to him and he says, okay, I'm going to send you out. You're going to go do now what I have been doing. And then he begins giving them kind of a list of instructions, even some expectations of this is what you can expect. In verse 17, he shifts to more of a prophetic stance from not on this trip, but as you herald my message of love and grace throughout until I return, these are some things that you can expect, which means that he's speaking to us too. As we champion, as we herald the same message of love and grace, we can have some of the same expectations. And what Jesus is saying is, hey, when you're out there and you're pointing people to the heavenly kingdom, to the coming king, to the warrior king, you're going to see some things that are going to be hard. You're going to see some families that are torn apart by my gospel. You're going to see some kids that accept this gospel of grace and that their parents reject them for it. You're going to see some parents that are faithful in serving me and their kids walk out of the church never to return. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You're going to see, notice that it mentions the in-laws. You're going to see families that have grown up in church together, and when kids get married, they go off and do their own thing. And because of the influence of the new spouse, God is no longer a part of their lives, and it's going to be hard to watch. But here's what he's saying. Heaven is not spontaneous. It's not random. It is processed. It is prepared, and it is worth it. It's worth it. When you put it in context of evangelism, when you put it in the context of understanding that when you are pointing people to Jesus, what you're actually calling them to is to die. You're not calling them to this, and I believe this is why he uses these words. You're not calling them to eternal prosperity and health, and you're always going to be happy, and your life is going to be blessed, and there's going to be nothing but favor, and you're going to be rich beyond measure, and all of your wildest dreams will come true. And yet, that's the non-gospel that a lot of pastors preach. What he's saying is when you're evangelizing, when you're out doing the ministry of Jesus, and you're calling people to a relationship with God through the work of Christ, what you're actually calling them to do is to pick up a cross and to carry their cross. You're asking them to come and die. When he talks about hearts will be turned, the heart that is turned is not the heart of the one who believes in Jesus. Once we believe in Jesus, our hearts cries at everyone that we love and even those that we don't love, that they would experience that same freedom. Especially our family. We just want them to know the saving grace that we know. The heart that is turned is the heart of those who reject Christ, and they will reject their family members who have accepted him. If you want more information on this topic, if this is new to you and you want to explore this, I would recommend the book Follow Me by David Platt. He does a great job of explaining all of this. He even talks about some stories in different countries where he's ministering one-on-one with people and inviting them to a relationship with Jesus when the people that he's talking to know specifically that if anyone finds out, they will be killed. Or at the very best, that they will be kicked out of their community and out of their family, and they will never again get to talk to anyone that they know. And it's a much different reality when you're talking to someone that's in that situation and you're able to point them to it and say, listen, I know what I'm asking. Jesus knew what the ask was, and it's worth it. It just puts it in a different context. Verses 40 through 42 here are clearly about those who accept Christ as King and how worth it that decision is, even if it costs them everything. I want us to look at what it looks like to pick up a cross, because this is what we're calling people to. So let's look at verses 38 and 39. This is what they say, Matthew 10, 38 and 9. It says, "Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it." Now, the word cross in the New Testament is used in three varying ways. The first way that it's used is a literal cross, like on which our Savior died. So that's the first word usage that you see when the word cross is used. The second is more of a theological term that's used by a lot of the authors of the letters that we have in the later parts of the New Testament. And it's used as more of a symbolic reference to the work of Christ that he accomplished in his life, death, and resurrection. And so they'll use the term cross, but it's not alluding to an actual cross on which Jesus died. It's alluding more towards the work of Christ and everything that we have. We have salvation and access to God because of the work of Jesus on the cross. And so it's a little bit bigger usage. And then the third way that we see it used in the New Testament is it's used in reference to the followers of Jesus. That we have a cross, that we pick up a cross. And what this means is not that when you accept Jesus as your Savior, that there will be someone there that puts you on a cross and that you, like Jesus, will carry your cross and you'll be nailed to your cross and you have immediate death for that decision. There would be no Christians. So that's not what Jesus is talking about. He's not using it in that reference of an actual literal cross. It's used symbolically to talk about the way that our lives will symbolically, they will bear the image of the way the cross worked. So the Persians were the first to use the cross. The Carthaginians also used the cross. The Romans were the ones that made it widespread and introduced it to the Jews. So a lot of what you read about happening to Jesus when he was nailed to a cross, a lot of that was standard protocol for executions. We read in scriptures that a lot of it was a lot worse for Jesus than what it was for a lot of the normal criminals. But a typical criminal, once they had been pronounced guilty of a crime that was worthy of public execution, they would be scourged. That happened to Jesus, only worse than the normal criminal. They would be, after being scourged, they would be given the beam that they would later be nailed to. And they were forced to carry that beam through a crowd, usually through the town, from the center portion of town where the flogging would take place, to the outskirts of town, to where they would die out of town, usually along a main highway so that people coming in and out of the towns would be able to see them. They would carry the beam out of town to where they're going to be nailed to the beam. They would be nailed to the beam. The beam would then be affixed to some kind of an upper measure, and then their feet would be nailed into the upper measure, and that's how they would be attached to the cross. The Romans would always put some kind of a sign, typically above the criminal, that was stating the crime that the criminal had committed. If the crime was really egregious, they would actually spike the sign into the person as another form of torture. So the sign would actually be affixed to the criminal. So whatever your crime was that was deserving of death, the cross was the symbol of you accepting that now in the eyes of the public, you are whatever the sign read. So as they're carrying their cross after they're flogging out to be nailed to the cross, it's them accepting the fact that they are murderer, that they are thief. In the instance of Jesus, that he was king. That's what his sign said. So the imagery is, I am in public opinion, I am what this sign says. And because I am what this sign says, I am being flogged, I am carrying my cross, I am being nailed to this cross, and I will be viewed publicly as this. And this is the imagery that is being assigned to Christians. When Jesus says, if you will not pick up your cross, what he's saying is, don't go find a piece of wood and put it on there and carry it out. There are groups that do that for different events and whatever, and that's fine. But what he's saying is, in public opinion, you should be a Christ follower. And if that means that you're scourged for that, it's worth it. If that means that you have to walk through a crowd of people and they ridicule you and they laugh at you and they throw things at you and they make your journey difficult just because you are what your sign says, which is a Christ follower, it's going to be worth it. And if you're not willing to do that, he says, then you're not worthy of him because he did this for you, literally. This is the imagery that we have when Jesus says, hey, if you're not willing to bear your cross and follow him, then what that means is no matter what happens to me, no matter how bad it is, heaven is worth it. Heaven is worth it. And no matter how bad it gets, you should be publicly known as Christ follower. The Bible tells us that they yanked Jesus' beard out of his face. The Bible tells us they took a crown of thorns and they put it on his head and they pressed it so that blood would flow. What will people do to you? I hope they don't literally rip your beard out of your face. But they might talk about you behind your back. The Bible says that they hurled insults at Jesus. That might be a shared experience. Jesus' life was cut short because he was king. Your career might be cut short because you're a Christ follower. You might be passed over for promotions because you're not willing to do the things that other people do. you might have people that you're in a relationship with that don't really want to be in a relationship with you because you live by God's rules. You may lose friends. The Bible is very clear that life is not all puppy dog breath and four-leaf clovers. But life can be hard. But the Bible is also very clear that in the midst of a hard life, Jesus is worth it and heaven is worth it. He says for us to pick up our cross and follow him. We would love for our cross to be a one-time event, right? Like we would love to be able to look and be like, man, 1986, that was my cross. I remember having to go through that. Whew, conquered it. Praise be. On a victory. Like that, like if we could just pencil the cross in as one event and know that we made it through it, like life would be better. But that's not what Jesus is talking about. There are theologians that know way more of the Bible than I'll ever know, and all of them are in agreement, which is weird to have this where everybody's in agreement about something, but all of them are in agreement about the cross for a Christian is a lifestyle. It's a life. It's the life that we live. When we take up our cross and follow Jesus, this is the life that is on us, and because this is the life that is on us, we are known as in public opinion as a Christ follower. They should see it in the way that we act, interact, react. They should see it in the words that come out of our mouth. They should see it in the way that we reach into dying and hurting people and that we help them. They should see it in the way that we love one another. They should see it in us. It's the cross that we bear. The life of Christ. How do we do this successfully? Because this is not easy. And I think that we find a couple clues right here just in this passage of Scripture, verses 38 and 9. Jesus says to follow me. So that's the first step, is follow Jesus. Jesus says, take up their cross and follow me. So he's saying, if you're not willing to follow me, then you're not worthy of me. If you've taken up your cross, then what do you do with it? Do you parade it around? Do you take a selfie and put it on social media? Like, what do you do with it? Jesus is saying, once you have taken up your cross, which is an acknowledgement of him as king, you follow him. The word that Jesus uses for follow is a compilation of two words. Separately, they mean together and on a path. But when you combine them into a compound word, they typically mean attendant or follower on the way. When it's used like this, the meaning is shifted from the noun follower to the verb or action of following. This usage is different than the usage when large crowds followed Jesus. That was just an actual, they just followed him. This usage is different from that. This usage implies a commitment or an abiding relationship with the one that you're following. So when he says follow me, he's not just saying go where I go, do what I do. When I dip, you dip, we dip. What he's saying is there should be a close, abiding relationship with me. So once you accept me as king, once you have taken up your cross, the next thing that you do is have a deep, meaning, abiding relationship with me. This is what he's calling us to. He's calling each of us to a deep relationship with him where we know him. Jesus says, my sheep, that's us, they will know me and they will know my voice. The type of relationship that God wants to have with you is one where you know his voice. When he speaks to you, you hear him speak. You know that it's him speaking, and you know what he's asking you to do. There should be this abiding relationship. This is one of the biggest differences between Christianity and every other world religion. And it's good news for us. You see, you can take any other world religion and they will give you a series of things that you are to do, a list of rules that you are to follow. And each religion has a different number of them. And there will be people that are devoted to that religion that will be able to look back and say, man, I've been through those 7 steps, but I still don't have peace in my life, so I must not have got one right. And they just devote their lives to trying to figure out where they messed up and trying to get it right. Every other religion wants its adherents to work harder, to be better, to follow these rules, to observe these traditions, to perform these rituals, to pursue this path. And yet Jesus' message is completely different from any of the other world religions. Jesus says, follow me. His primary purpose is not to prescribe for us a religion, but rather to invite us into a relationship. And this is different from every other religion. He doesn't say, go this way to find life. He says, I am the life. He doesn't say, follow these steps to find peace. He says, I am your peace. My peace I give you. He doesn't say, perform these pilgrimages and these rituals and you will find purpose. He says, come to me. And I will give you purpose. This is good news for us that just simply out of relationship with Jesus that we can find the things that everyone in the world is searching for. As he says, I am everything you need. He doesn't say go that way. He says, I am the way. He doesn't say follow this path. I am the path. He doesn't say, go discover truth. He says, I am the truth. And once we've taken up our cross, acknowledged that he is king and accepted him as king, then we just get to have a relationship with him and he begins to supply all our needs according to his riches in glory. We don't have to go earn anything. Jesus gives us everything that we need. We just choose to follow him. This statement that Jesus began the ministry of his disciples with, as he's launching them out, this is sort of the crux of everything that he wants them to know as they're going out. This is how they're to point people to Jesus. This is how they're to do ministry. This is why they will perform miracles. This is why they will cast out demons. This is why they will heal the sick. It's so that the people who accept their message can follow Jesus, can have a deep, abiding relationship with Jesus. This is like the apex of all of this portion of Scripture. He's saying, follow me. And this statement that he uses to begin this ministry of his disciples as they become apostles is a statement that he continues as part of his teaching. We're going to see it again in chapter 11. We're going to study it again in chapter 11. And it's how he begins his relationship with us. When he speaks to our hearts and he says, follow me. If you remember, before we ever got here, Jesus approached each one of his disciples while they were out doing what they did, fishing, tax collecting, being a zealot, whatever it is that they were doing. And their relationship with Jesus began with 2 words: follow me. And that's the same pattern Jesus uses today. When we feel him speaking to our hearts and wooing us for the first time into a relationship with him, the message that he's sending us is, follow me. Will you follow me? And as we're out evangelizing, as we're pointing people to Jesus, what we're doing is we're saying, will you follow him? And it's going to be worth it. So the first thing we do is we follow Jesus. The second thing we do is we lose your life for the sake of Christ. Jesus is using a clever wordplay here, which is something that he does frequently. The words that we need to understand are life, found, and lost. So let me explain what these words actually mean. The word that he's using here for life is not bios, which just means life. The word used is psyche, In the New Testament, it usually refers to the soul as the source of emotions, desires, affections, and passions. So when he says, if you'll lose whoever loses their life will find it. What he's saying is whoever loses their own source of emotions, desires, affections, and passions, they will find what? Their emotions, their desires, their affections, their passions. And it doesn't usually take very long to be a Christian before you find this to be true. When God does something inside you, there's this radical transformation. And what we notice is that all of a sudden the things that we used to desire, we don't desire. The affections that we had have changed. The emotional responses that we have are changed. Now, it may not be true for all of our emotions because we are both saved and being saved, right? We are both righteous and becoming righteous. We are both justified and being justified. As we walk with Jesus and continue to develop that abiding relationship with him, he continues to change us throughout eternity. But there is a difference. There are times in the New Testament that this word is used in reference to the purpose of a person. I mean, let's read it with that. Whoever finds their own purpose will lose it. But whoever loses their own purpose for my sake will find it. Man, you can look around at the world and you can see people that are just immensely, ridiculously talented. And they're forging their own way. They're making their own path. They're using the gifts and abilities that God gave them for their own pursuits, and they are miserably unhappy. But then you can find people that it seems like when God was passing out gifts and talents and abilities, that he just kind of passed over them. But they love Jesus with all their heart, and they have a joy that seems to be unshakable. They know their God, they know the voice of their Savior, and they are productive and effective in their Christianity. They are the people that are shaping lives for generations by their faithfulness. Why? Well, because Jesus tells us, if you try to find your own purpose, you're going to lose it. But if you're willing to lose your purpose, then you're going to find his purpose for you. And his purpose is greater. If you're willing to lose the life that you think you want to live and accept the life that he's calling you to live, that life will be better. It will be better. Does that mean pain-free? Does that mean never any downs, just simply all ups? No. But it means that it will be better than trying to do it on your own. Here's what the word find means. The word find means to discover or to learn. It's the same word used both times. Whoever finds their life, discovers or learns their life, their purpose, will lose it. Whoever loses their life for my sake will find it, will learn it, will discover it. It's this process of discovery. And what Jesus is saying is, I have a life for you. I have a purpose for you. And if you want to try to figure it all out on your own, it's not going to go well for you. But if you'll just surrender to me as king, if you'll just accept the cross, which is a public life of following me, then I will allow you to learn a new purpose. The word lose. Lose is, I don't know, it's kind of a pansy English word compared to this in the Greek. The word lose in the Greek means to utterly destroy and annihilate. To be lost to the owner forever. That's what that word means. To be lost to the owner forever. It's utterly destroyed, cannot be restored. It says whoever will find, will learn, will discover his life or his purpose will lose it. It'll be utterly destroyed, annihilated, lost to the owner. Why? Because if you're trying to do it on your own way, if you refuse to be owned by Christ the King, then you will be owned by the enemy of Christ the King. Your soul will be owned. And if you think you can do it on your own, Jesus is telling you, your life, your purpose will be lost to the owner. You're not the owner anymore. You've lost it. And it will never be resolved. But if you're willing to surrender, to lose your own life, your own purpose, if you're willing to just completely abandon and annihilate and be willing to walk away from your own life and try to do things on your own and surrender your life to him, then you'll find it. You'll discover, you'll learn a new purpose. That's what Jesus is calling us to do. So how do we take up our cross? How do we live a life that is a public acknowledgement of the sign that we have on our cross, which is Christ follower? We follow Jesus. We have an abiding relationship with him, and we lose our life for his sake. We're willing just to say, God, whatever you want done is what I want done. And we live a life of humble submission to Christ our King. And that's how that works. We're going to take communion before we close in prayer. So those of you watching online at home, if you want to grab anything that you have laying around, whether that be crackers and juice, whether that be Oreos and root beer, whether that be bread and water, whatever you have, there's nothing magical in this prepackaged thing. It's all about our hearts before the Lord. And I know some of you are upset that we don't have Oreos and root beer for our communion here either. But they're going to be passing these around. And so if you're watching online, you have some time. So go find something that you can take communion with us. And so again, if you are uncomfortable receiving the bucket that's been passed, go ahead, Susan, just go ahead and start. If you're uncomfortable receiving anything, you can come up here. These and the tables beside us. We always have communion available every week. And these are sanitized up here. So if you'd rather come up here, you can. The call to a Christ follower is the call to death. Death to our own self, death to our own passions, death to our own desires. And in the death to self, we find life. A life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life of value, a life that is controlled by God, directed by God, that is used in his purposes for his glory. So if this is what Jesus is calling us to, then there's no better way for us to end this scripture portion than just to celebrate the fact that Jesus literally died on a cross for us so that he could make this invitation. If he was unwilling to go through with his own sacrifice on a cross, then he would not be able to invite us to himself. But because he was willing to endure the cross, then he can, through passages like this, say, will you follow me? Will you come to me? All who are weary, all who are burdened, will you come to me and find rest? Will you humble yourselves in my presence and allow me to gift you new purpose, new life, new direction for everything that you think, a new way of seeing the world around you? Will you allow me to give you new vision? Will you allow me to give you a new way of interacting with people? Will you allow me, through following me and having a relationship with me, will you allow me to form myself in you? This is the call of a Christian. Bible says on the night that Jesus was betrayed that he took the bread. When he had given thanks, he broke it. He said to the same disciples that he's talking to in the passage of Scripture that we read today, "This is my body that is broken for you." It was a symbolic gesture that probably none of them understood until the events of the next several hours unfolded. But in doing this, Jesus said, as often as you do this, meaning that he expected them to do it again. And the next time he expected them to do it, he expected them to do it with the full weight and knowledge of his sacrifice for us. Here's the ultimate joy of Matthew chapter 10. You don't have to do life alone. You don't have to figure everything out on your own. Jesus is inviting you to relationship with him, and it's because his body was broken and his blood was shed. Because of his sacrifice, we have relationship. And because of that offer of relationship, we have new life. And the offer of eternal life with him. After they'd eaten the bread, he took the cup, and when he had taken a drink from it, he passed around and he said to his disciples, "This cup is the blood of a new covenant." What he was saying was the way that we've done things in the past is now done. This is a new covenant between God and man, and the new covenant is based on the sacrifice of the body and the blood. And what this tells us is that the way that you've been doing things in the past, you don't have to keep doing them because there's a new covenant. And that as you seek to follow Jesus, as you seek to lose your own life so that you can find the life and the purpose that he wants to give you, you can just know that you don't have to keep repeating the same sins. You don't have to keep following the same patterns. You don't have to try to find your own path and forge your own way, that there is a new covenant. There's a new way, and that way is through the body and the blood of Jesus. As we take these elements today, we do so in joy and celebration of the fact that we have new life because of him. And then when he says, "Follow me," we can. Jesus, I thank you for your body that was broken, and I thank you for the blood that was shed. God, I ask that as we celebrate you, God, your instructions are that when we do this, that we show your death and that we do this until you come. So we're celebrating both your death, your resurrection, and the fact that you will come again. Holy Spirit, work in our hearts right now. If there's anything inside of us that requires repentance, we repent. We ask your forgiveness. We ask your grace and your mercy. Heavenly Father, I pray that you would embolden us to point people to you, knowing, God, that it's going to be worth it, knowing that it's not some whimsical, spontaneous thing, but God, that it is processed, that it is prepared, that you have put people in our paths to point to you, and that we are taking advantage of opportunities that you have given us, and knowing full well that what we are asking people to do is not to come receive their prosperity, but to come die to themselves so that they can live for you. And whatever it costs, you are worth it. We praise you and we thank you. Help us, we pray. In Jesus' name, let's take the bread. And the cup. Again, Jesus, we celebrate you today. We ask, God, that you would help us to accomplish the purpose that you give us. And we ask that in Jesus' beautiful name. Amen. Amen. Church, we love you and we're praying for you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you for joining us online today. We trust that you felt the presence of God in your home as you watched this message. If you have any questions or comments, or if you would like prayer for anything, would you please email us at the church office, info@crossroadspv.church. We look forward to hearing from you.